So in this situation here, what you're going to do is put in your username. So your username, I personally, I just kind of suggest make it the name that, if it's a personal residence one, it's the name that's on your utility bill. So, and keep that as a consistent name throughout the whole process. So you will create a password, a unique password, and they'll show you on the right-hand side what's a strong password. It has to have some capital letters, some lowercase letters. You need a number, you need a symbol in there, a dollar sign. I like dollar signs. Legal name of the owner. So, and I put this in here, and I'm drawing a couple of personal examples, and I'm just going to share some little tips along the way. I'm me, Ken Bajan, my wife Elizabeth. So Ken Elizabeth Bajan is actually how we have our utility bill registered. And when I did the first application, I put it in under Ken Bajan. And all of a sudden later on, when you're trying to align your application for your new generation account with the LDC and your OPA contract for your microfit project and your original application that I'm going to walk you through right now, those three have to align. And you need to have the name set up as it appears on your utility bill. So if it's in joint name, Ken Elizabeth Bajan, make your application, Ken Elizabeth Bajan. If it's in one name or the other, then that's the way you should set it up. Primary contact information, you can establish that in there, put in email accounts. Confirm your email address, make certain you got it in there right. Where your address is, and phone numbers, postal codes. And a little challenge question, because later on you're actually able to go in and update your profile. So they'll give you a bunch of different questions. What's your favorite aunt's name? I don't know. What's your first pet's name? So we have one called Daisy that could go. Anyhow, getting into the second part, which is and then after you fill that in, then there's the terms of the use of the website. So you need to read through the terms, and at the bottom say you agree to the terms and conditions for registering onto the OPA website for the microfit, and then you submit your registration, and that creates your account. Now you have an open account that you can start to control your applications through. So for those, the 2, 3, 4 people walking in that have done their application, they have an account first, and now they're going to start to create applications. So before I was doing this, I tried to do one online, try to make it as realistic as possible. This is where my personal one was, just prior to submitting an application. We have 2 in. We have a Jordan residence. We also have a rental house out in the Cayuga area. So we have 2 applications on the go. One is completed and hooked up, and the other one is in process. So we have a conditional offer. And they tell you what your status is. So you can see on the top one, contract offer, and it's accepted. And the status date. As you can see, November 30th, it was just last Monday. So, last Tuesday. So connected on Monday, contract offered on Tuesday. Cayuga residence, pending connection. So we're working away on that one. So those are 2 that we have that we can actually go in and monitor through the process. But now we're going to create a third one. This one we're going to do together as a group. So in the, on that main page where it shows your contract status or your application statuses, it gives you some resource tools, how you can find your local distribution company if you're unaware who they are. List of related links and support materials, some documents that you need to be aware of. Some of the stuff Dan has touched on as well, microfit price schedules and who's eligible, things like that. When you first start to create your application, it'll give you a little bit of information again about the application, and there's a help center, a 1-888 number. You can call in for some assistance, and I must say I found them very helpful every time I've called in. So anyhow, then it'll give you your utilities company or the recommended one based on your application, the way you submit it in, where you reside. So in this one here, I started to do it for Hamilton to make it Horizon Utilities. And so for this here, you're going to ask your legal name, and I just put in my name here. Proposed microfit. I'm helping Hamilton go solar. So we're going to work on one here today that's for right here. First name, the John Doe, info at McMaster as far as an email address here. What's the mailing address of the facility? We're doing it for this facility in this case. City, town, Hamilton, Canada, Ontario, postal code. So secondary contact, if you want to have a secondary contact one in, that could be, could be a spouse, could be your developer, that's doing your project for you. You want to have them kept in the loop on that. You can set that up, and you'll notice there's little blue dots with an eye. Those are the information buttons. So if there's any confusion, if you're doing this yourself, as Dan was saying, go home today and finish it off, or you want to ask questions out here, they give you some suggestions in there about what the content is they're looking for, so you don't just kind of make a guess and say, oh, I'll just put that in or whatever. So it's very helpful. Dan?
Yeah, just a tip that the secondary content, even though they ask you for your email address, does not actually get sent any information. So make sure that the primary contact is a person who regularly checks their email, because a lot of the communications are time sensitive, where you're required to respond within so many days. The failure to respond in some cases is that your application is terminated. So whoever is the primary contact needs to be on top of their email, and should probably set the Power Authority domain as a safe sender, so it gets through your junk mail filter. And if you want to hear a long story about what happens if you don't do that, I'll tell you afterwards.
Good point. So again, more contact information. Now you're getting into the type of applicant. Dan talked about these, individual, Aboriginal, cooperative. Here, for Master Innovation Park, so I just did university school set up here. Most of us here, if you're applying individual, you're going to be checking the top one there. Is the applicant a GST registrant? And again, there's some information on that. You should check with your accountants on this for this as well, so whether or not you're a GST registrant or not. There was some initial indication from clients that applied for microfit and said an example. If you've been to any of the faith-based organization presentations in town here, where they selected no, and they weren't GST or HST registered now. And when they're receiving in their settlements payments from Horizon Utilities for the production, they're now receiving HST on the payments. So you need to check into that and talk about it with your accountant. And if you are, then provide your GST registration number. Does the proposed microfit have an existing OPA contract? In most cases, it's probably no. And if it is, you have another generation facility, an OPA contract, you're going to be potentially rolling it in, then you need to check yes. But I would say probably 99% of the time for the folks here in this room, the answer is probably no. Who's your LDC, your local distribution company? And that will automatically populate initially based on where your profile and where you reside. If it's different, and in our case, when we did the secondary one on our rental place in Cayuga, we had to check Haldimand County Hydro. So you can select the utility, and this is important. Before you log on and do all of any of this information, have your utility statement in front of you. Have it there. Know your account number. Know how your name is registered on there, so you're not digging around for halfway in between and your computer goes to sleep and kicks you out. So have that information available, because you do need to enter it here. What is your account number, and how does the name appear on that account? Mailing address for that statement. Where's it going? So your residence could be at 123 Any Street, but it's all mailed to Box 56 anywhere. And you want to make certain you have it set up that way. Is it converting from a net metered project? Well, that could have been me. I had a net metered project already, and some of the folks that have net metered projects saying, I'm only getting 10, 12 cents a kilowatt hour for the value of my net metered project. I think I'd rather convert it to the microfit program and receive 80 cents. So you can convert over a project. In my case, I have a bunch of battery bank storage in the basement for my net metered side, and I depend on that. We have a lot of power outages, and I wasn't really interested in giving up my net metered side of it because it has extra value for it. Since 2004, I've never had to reset a clock in the house because they were never without power. We have not been for 7 years. And we've never had a backup in the basement because the sump pump didn't work. Address of the microfit project, where are you going to be building it? So you want to fill that in. Generally, it's going to be right at your house or right at your residence. And which kind of technology are you using? Biogas, landfill gas, biomass, renewable biomass. Probably the vast majority of the folks in the room here, you're right in here. Rooftop or ground mount. So, and Dan, Graham, I think both touched on this, is that all of a sudden, July 2nd this year, they made a SNAP assessment right before a long weekend, actually, which is always really nice, to say they were going to drop the rate to 58.6 cents because it was too lucrative for ground mount systems to be receiving 80.2 cents. And after some debate, finally on August 13th, they confirmed that they were going to go with 64.2, which is magically 80% of 80.2. And a lot of science there. And they were also going to, for anybody who had applied prior to noon on July 2nd, they would honor the 80.2 cent rate for those that were going to put it on the ground. So they also said you have to have those systems in and done by May 31st next year. They gave us a time period, and I'm saying us because I am one of those. I sat for a period of 5 weeks not really knowing what was going to happen to my projects. And they also gave an extension of the domestic content guidelines because 60% domestic content applies to all new systems going in 2011. However, there was that small pocket of individuals that were kind of thrown into la-la land from July 2nd to August 13th and maybe didn't proceed on their projects, on their planning. And so they said, well, you know what, we'll let you get away with 40% domestic content through until the end of May next year. So that's just an example about how they can change the rules, the guidelines, but the date of your application, they've set a precedent to, I won't say 100%, but to generally honor the guidelines on the date that you applied. I think you can feel pretty safe with that. So, and what was the whole project designed for? It was designed to encourage local job growth and renewable energy deployment, distributed generation in Ontario. And like with most feed-in tariff programs around the world, once the rates have gone in, after a while they're reviewed and the rates are ratcheted down. And here, the first announcement was kind of made just like that. Now there's an advisory panel that's been assembled, and I think there'll be a bit more consultation before they make some sudden changes. But it's important, if you're interested in this program and you'd like to participate, probably best to at least create your account, submit an application for your residence or where you're looking at for the property location, and at least have it in there. Because from the date they respond and say, yeah, you know, your application looks clean, we're going to give you a conditional offer, you have 12 months from that date to complete your project. So you're probably wise to at least get that part started, get it in there, and talk to the great folks out in the foyer here, and to your friends and neighbors and other folks who put it in or whatever, to say how should we proceed. Put your ducks in a row. So you've got the winter time actually now to kind of work through that. Won't be a lot of rooftop solar going on in February. So.